Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Print to Pitch. This is our series where we have a look at all things 3D printing for Blood Bowl. We're having a look at full teams, star players, big guys, accessories, and things that aren't really to do with Blood Bowl but that work really well for Blood Bowl. And today we've got a very cool one. So Torchlight is a company that has a tribe on my mini factory, which is similar to Patreon, a great way to support your favourite creators. And they're doing currently a Blood Bowl team a month, and this month is pretty awesome. It's Black Orcs / regular Orcs. He's gone and done all the positionals for both teams. We've got throwers, goblins, 6 Black Orcs, trolls, blitzers, everything you could need to run Orcs or Black Orcs, which is an absolutely monstrous release. And they're pre-supported, and he's been very kind to let us have a little bit early access, so this will be available from the first ish of the month, and we've got our hands on them now. So we're going to have a look at what you get this month, the STLs themselves, and then most importantly of all, the printed miniatures. So we're going to have a look at the My Mini Factory page for Torchlight, and let's start with the Black Orcs. So we'll have a quick look at some of the digital versions, the pictures that they had of these models, and they are awesome. So we've seen a few teasers of these, and you can see that the style that Torchlight have gone for here is very similar to the Ard Boys from Warhammer Fantasy Battle 6th edition, really, which then carries over into the Black Orcs of Blood Bowl 2020, really. And there's a ton of different sculpts. So there's 6 different sculpts for the Black Orcs that's independent. So you can just mirror them and you've got an entire team of 12 Black Orcs. So loads of different poses for them, but they've all got that classic Ard Boys armor, and it's really down to the knuckles. Like, they've got the kind of gauntlets that the Black Orcs had in Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Now, the poses are brilliant. I'm a big fan of this. We've seen the detail from Torchlight before, and the fact that he's gone and done an entire team's worth of everything in a month is just crazy. So we've got 4 blitzers as well. We've got some classic blitzer poses. You can see that they're more lightly armored than the Black Orcs, but they're still pretty menacing. They've got plenty of spikes on them. I actually really like these poses, especially the one on the left hand side. It's just proper orky. It's got the same kind of vibes as it's halfway between 2nd edition and 3rd edition Orcs. And I really think that was a prime time for Orc sculpts for Blood Bowl. And of course, they've gone and done a troll as well. And it's kind of a Nordic looking troll with the tusks and the long nose. Very similar to the Artisan Guilds package this month, which was like a whole bunch of Nordic trolls. This fits in really nicely with the aesthetic of the team while not being just a straight up Games Workshop clone. So I'm a big fan of that. It's always great to have custom stuff, like different sculpts. So on top of 6 Black Orcs, 4 Blitzers, a Troll, there's also some Line Orcs and some Throwers. So great mix here, great poses. I mean, they're just Line Orcs and throwers, and that's exactly what you want. The fact the throwers don't have the helmet kind of belies the fact they've got a little bit less armor, you know, missing a shoulder pad there. It just works really well. I'm a big fan of these, and the goblins are very cool too. So the goblins here look like the old White Dwarf drawings of goblins. They are proper cartoony. They look actually a bit like the Blood Bowl 2 kind of goblins, just a bit over the top, and I don't know, I think they're really cartoony, and I think they're really, really, really cool. So we've got throwers, we've got line orcs, we've got goblins. So that is it for the Black Rock Killers. Let's have a look at the STLs. Okay, so the first STLs we'll look at are the Blitzers, because I think they're my favourite from the set, which is saying something because the Black Orcs are very, very, very cool. So every time we have a look at Torchlight's miniatures, and this is the 4th team we've seen from them, you can see the kind of classic designs there. It's not massively complicated. These are the kind of models that are going to paint up really, really well, but they're not short of detail. You can see that these guys have got these little bolts kicking around. You've got spikes, you've got the ties for the tusks. To be fair, the Orc skin is really well done. You can see there's lots of texture there. There's lots of musculature, muscle mass. You've got cool blitzer fists. You've got the kind of Teenage Mutant Ninja Hero shredder fist spikes. I don't know what to call them. I probably should know what to call them. And you've got the armor that's all bolted together, and they've got like the classic orc flannel pants. Come on, Ben. I don't know what else to call it. loincloth. There you go. Flannel pants. Yeah, anyway, they've got plenty of detail on them. I love the models. Now, these are not the pre-supported versions. One thing to call out, and I will feed this back, is that they are all joined together as one file. And as we go through and have a look at some of the other models, they are all chunked together. So the Blitzers come on one set of 4 STL. There is a set of 4 Black Orcs, which I have just opened in the wrong window, which is going to be of no use to us, so we just have to wait for a second for that to load, and then I will bounce across to the other Chitu box. Click, click, there we go. So just loading up the Black Orcs. So again, 1 STL and there's 4, and this is the same for the pre-supported versions as well. So when it came to printing them, you will either have to cut them up, or hopefully Torchlight will have enough time to just cut them into individual models, because we're going to look at the Black Orcs now, and we've got a great selection of poses, and everything we just said about the Blitzers is true of the Black Orcs. Plenty of detail, plenty of surface texture, and this is really important in this day and age where we've got Army Painter speed paints and we've got contrast paints from Games Workshop. Having that surface texture makes painting them so much easier. And in fact, look at the armor plate here on this Black Orc. You can see we've got a scratch, we've got dents, you've got little patches of raised bit, it's bumpy texture. That's awesome for dry brushing. If you want to speed paint these models, this is exactly the kind of sculpting that will do it brilliantly. But if you want to take your time, then all it's doing is making a better canvas for you to paint on. So absolutely love these models. They've got classic orc vibes. That's 4 of the 6 Black Orcs. And I tell you what, let's quickly load up the goblins as well, because I think they are some of the most fun models. They are very cartoony, and we kind of see that from Torchlight. And it's a style, that kind of, it does flash back to original Blood Bowl, to the earlier days of Blood Bowl, to the kind of peak period of Games Workshop in the 90s, where it was a fantasy game. It was a cartoon. I mean, look at this. This is like the Black Gobbo. We've got oversized cartoony goblin features, and again, this is these days I don't have a lot of time to paint, so models like this where they've got tons of detail that's just going to come up with a nice coat of contrast and a bit of a dry brush, or, you know, dude, Agrax is going to go really well on this goblin skin. And you've got great features. This guy at the back is excellent as well, and we've got a nice bit of dynamism there with this guy running away with the ball in a very cartoony pose. The goblins may not be to your liking, but I think they're brilliant. But you don't need the goblins if you're just going to do an orc team, and the orcs are all absolutely solid sculpts. Let's chuck the thrower and the trolls on the plate as well, and we can have a quick look at the sculpts, because I don't know, whatever side you land on when it comes to having an orc thrower or not, having it available is really important. They got passing access. They can be your leader reroll if you want to save some money if you're going to a tournament. But I wanted to point out the skin detail here of the thrower, where the dude's head has been knocked in and sewn back, and his ear's been knocked off and sewn back on, and it's just a wicked level of detail. And it's the same with both the throwers. And then we've got this troll who is beautifully detailed and a very different style than one we see, especially with orc and goblin teams, and that makes him pretty unique. Now, there are some great STL trolls out there, and I really like the way that Torchlight has taken just a different tack to it. It's not a Games Workshop clone. It doesn't look like a stone troll, although I do love stone trolls. This dude is unique, and the cool thing is you're going to see this on the pitch, because you are going to see this on the pitch, because this is one of the better orc printed teams out there. And you're going to be like, oh, that's the Torchlight troll. In the same way as the Brute Fun troll is kind of like the signature Brute Fun model, I think we've got the signature Torchlight model now, which is this troll, which is not even the best sculpt in this team, because I think, personally, that's just the standard Blitzers and the Black Orcs, because they are so orc. Now, I think it's probably important that we show the pre-supported versions, and I have printed off every model except the set of 2 Black Orcs, and every one of them was perfect. The pre-supports have been done really, really well. Now, when it comes to scaling, we'll have a look at that in a second. I think they are slightly on the small side, but I don't think it matters at all. But this is pre-supported beautifully. These pre-supports came off really nicely. I did the classic wash and then dunk in hot water, and they just peeled off really nicely. And you can see they're actually all pre-supported. Now, again, the only thing I'll feed back, and this is actually really nice to say, but the only thing I will feed back is that split the models up so we can fit more on the plate. That's it. I mean, you can do it in the Windows 3D printing, in the Windows 3D sculpting thing. I've not done it, but just for ease of access and for kind of end user ability, it is good. The file is set up with Black Orc 1, Black Orc 2, Black Orc 3, so I think we just got it before he had a chance to split them down individually, or did it wrong. I don't know, one of the two, but that is it. Every one of these models has been pre-supported. Every one of them has been test printed by me, with the exception of the 2-pack of Black Orcs, and that's something that's really cool. So we get a 5th and 6th Black Orc for the Black Orc team. So if you want to run this team, print off the whole lot, you've got an Orc team and you've got a Black Orc team. And this is it. Like, they're together, but they are fully supported. These are the only two I haven't printed out. Every single other model came out perfectly. I didn't have a single fail. Normally with this kind of stuff, you get a couple of hits, you're like, you know, I can do that myself, that's fine. But in this kit, perfect pre-supports and unsupported versions as well, so that if you want to upscale them, downscale them, and support them yourself, you can. That is everything we've asked for from Torchlight so far, so really pleased with that. Quality work. Let's have a look at the 3D prints. Okay, so we're going to start with the Black Orc models. Now, I've printed these on my Mars 2 Pro with standard settings and standard resin, but I have to call out that I have rushed the printing and the cleanup on these models. The STLs came through on Sunday from Torchlight, who very kindly hooked us up with them to get a nice bit of a preview on the go, and I was away for a conference on Monday, which is today as I'm filming, so I kind of just blitzed them through as quickly as I could. But let's see if we can get a nice shot of the detail here with zero effort on my part, and I cannot stress this enough. I chucked them on the plate and just printed them as quickly as I could. They've come out really, really nicely. There's some bits where I have not cleaned it up all that brilliantly, but everything I said about them, that like, they're gonna paint in about an hour. You can get a whole team of these painted in about an hour, and they've got such a cool throwback vibe to Warhammer 6th edition. This is probably why I'm so excited about them. If you were playing Blood Bowl in the 2000s, in the 2010 time, and you don't know a player who had an Orc team made of Orc Ardboys, the Black Orc models, I don't know, you were very lucky, because they were ubiquitous models for everything, and they've got that vibe to them, very much mixed in with the Black Orcs from the classic, the 2016 version of the Orc team. But look, you can see all the detail on the face there. I'm really sorry I didn't get a chance to paint up one of these. I'm really sorry, because I've got to paint the Shadow team this week, but then I think I might just paint this team because it is gorgeous, and I really want a proper Auckland Raiders style Orc team, and I think I've found my models for them now. So we got all 4 of the Black Orcs from the kind of core set. Like I said, haven't done the 2 expansion Black Orcs, but look at the detail. Again, there's some bits I need to clean up there, but this has come out great. This is going to be an absolute no-brainer to paint. So let's talk scale, because that is probably the most important thing when it comes to printing out models, is how well do they line up with the Games Workshop models. And I have to say, when it comes to the Black Orcs on this edition, I think that the models are a little bit underscaled. That said, height-wise, they're probably comparable. Now, I've printed these at 100% scale, and I think 110 would do it. Now, 110 would definitely give you the mass you wanted. I might go a little bit bigger for the Black Orcs just to make them really lumbering, but that's because I'm a madman. So I would probably go for 115 on the Black Orcs to make them look really, really chunky. But, I mean, technically the scale is absolutely fine. 110% is probably where you want to be for the Black Orcs. Let's have a look at the Blitzers here. So the Blitzers, again, lovely sculpts, lovely prints. You can see I've not cleaned them up as well as I should have done, but you can see how nice you can see which of these I took off the print last night and has dried out. This is the nice thing about 3D printing resin, is it gets that cool, like, faded grey look really quickly. Sculpts are lovely. Size wise, I mean, it's size 3. These orcs are size 3, so let's use the ubiquitous human thrower. A bit smaller, and I think actually 110% would be fine. 100% is okay, like no worries at all, but 110% would set you up in a pretty good sizing, I think, to put up against everybody else. But I mean, this is the stuff, right? These are the models that I love. Oh, we're going to be doing 7s soon. Do we need an Orc team? We did Orcs in 7s. But just look at them, because you've got the segmented armor. You can just brew up really nice color schemes, like a nice blue and red Orc team with some bright white in there and a bunch of mud. They just paint up really, really, really nicely. So those are some of the Blitzers. Let's have a look at the throwers. I like these guys as well. So we've got the Orc throwers. I mean, there's a ton of detail and a ton of dynamism, which I actually really like. The mobility of these models is great, and Torchlight's done a really good job with the Ben, do not call them flannel pants again. With the loincloth piece there for the Orcs, you can actually see the momentum of the player. That swish and flick element of their gear just works really, really, really well. Size wise, this is a strength 3 player again. Well, this is probably about right, but you want your Orcs to be a little bit bigger and a little bit menacing. So again, I think 110% will put you in a really good spot for the Torchlight models. And actually, I think that's probably the best thing to do. These models have got so much detail on them, and they look so good, and they're so well rounded that actually they're a little bit bigger means the details will pop even nicer. So we've got one of the goblins here. I like this one. He's got that proper, it almost looks like a gremlin, like from the Gremlins movies. Now these have just come off the printer, so I have cleaned them up and I have dried them, and I have set them on my UV lamp, but you can see I didn't clean them up probably as nicely as I should because I got a bit of a shine, but you can still see plenty of detail on the model. And now for the size test, let's use a goblin. So actually the goblins are bang on where you want them to be. I think the Black Orc goblins are a little bit undersized, so actually this is perfect. 100% scale for that goblin is good to go, and all the goblins are of the same kind of ilk. So actually these goblins are really cool. Now what we're starting to see is we've got a good mix of goblins kicking around. We've got these for that classic vibe, and I'm probably going to press Torchlight to say don't release a whole team next time, because you've already done everything. Maybe just an extra troll sculpt and some of the goblin positionals. Release the goblin team next month. Basically you've got 4 goblins ready to go, a couple of different alternate sculpts, a pogo, a bombardier, and I think this would make an absolutely top tier goblin team. Now troll, I'm a big fan of big guys, and this is a very cool troll. I really like the style. If you watched Top 5 Friday last week, you will know. Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. That one of the most heard suggestions, and the ones that I really liked, was the idea of a troll team. This is looking like the troll for me. Imagine a team of these trolls with these goblins herding them. It would just be brilliant fun, and I really like the model. So size wise, against an ogre, this is exactly where you want it to be. Now I am a bit of a menace to society, so when it comes to big guys I would probably scale this up 10% as well. But if you do let's do the pillar test, it will fit on a 32mm base nicely. I would upscale them 10%, pop them on a 40mm base to make a really big menacing big guy, but ultimately they're in scale with the team. So talking of scales, Black Orcs 110%, everything 110% with the exception of the goblins. The goblins are perfect, everything else is just fine. They fit really nicely with the older Blood Bowl models, but if you want them to fit nicely with the 2020 edition stuff, boost them up by 10% with the exception of the goblins, and you have got yourself an unnecessarily good Orc team. And there you have it, we've got another excellent 3D printed Blood Bowl team. Torchlight and knocking it out of the park. We started this adventure with Torchlight with their dwarf team, which was cool. Then they did a really well executed Khemri team. The Amazons that I did the video for a couple of weeks ago were really nicely done. And there's always this stylistic tact to them. Okay, the Amazons were tall and lithe, the dwarves were stocky and cartoony, the Tomb Kings were just Tomb Kings. These Orcs are just an homage to 2nd, 3rd edition 1995 Blood Bowl, and that is something I love. This versus the Fanath dwarf team, that is just awesome, and there's so much possibility here for Torchlight to expand, and I think going to have to push them to do a goblin team in that style. You've got the Black Orcs, you've got the Orcs, you've got goblins there. It's so close. Next month, let's hope for goblins. I love this. This is so good, and a massive thank you for letting us have access to the STLs super early on. Just remember, boost them up by 10% and they will be perfect for 2020. As they are now, they're perfect for Blood Bowl anyway. They fit nicely, but a bit of a bigger scale to make the most of these great sculpts. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the Torchlight team. I just love it. We are absolutely winning at the moment, and I am so happy about it. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Thank you very much for watching. Happy printing. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.